astrology and how to determine how to read astrology with tarot, which card represents you. And we are using Rider-Waite deck today. So the most important thing to remember is that astrology is far more complex than just a simple card. And if you want a good reading, you need to get a natal scope. You need to go to Eric Linter or somebody that is in your circle of Facebook or Twitter or spiritual advisors, because astrology is based on 4 signs, sometimes 5 signs, I guess. And for myself, I just enjoy the fact that sometimes when you give a tarot reading, that you can find specific cards that represent people that may be coming into your life, whether it's to do with love, or sometimes career, whether it's to do with a boss, or whether it has to do with maybe even a crossing over reading, where a certain sign may represent characteristics of that person, or even to define that person's zodiac sign and give your reading even more meaning. Remember, all astrology and tarot is of the metaphysical world, and it can be combined together. So the number to call in, if you would like to have an in-depth reading today, is 602-666-6027. And that is also something that you can in-quick the show if you would rather not share your voice. But for me, as a reader over 40 years, I find that hearing a person's voice gives profound information through the vibration and frequency of their tone of their voice. And I think that many times, though I do read chat through Keen, I'm also an advisor for Best Psychics Directory. I am also a certified empath with the Directory of Certified Empathics. I feel that I have so much experience and information to offer you in a short mini reading that may offer you a chance to decide if you would like to go and contact me later on the show. To do that, you would go to thecallingoflight.com. That's thecallingoflight.com. So let's get started on our material today. For each astrology sign, there is a representative tarot card. Tarot card elements and zodiac signs are going to be as following. The suit of wands, that's all the cards that are your wand cards, are of fire, associated with creativity, willpower, and action. And this will also be associated with Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The suit of cups, which is of water, is associated with feelings, relationships, and love. And the zodiac signs that cups represent are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. The suit of swords represents air, and this is associated, the swords are associated with intellect, thoughts, and ideas. And the zodiac signs that they would represent in swords are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So if we look at the suit of Pentacles, which represents finances, home, and body, physical body, these signs, the zodiac signs that the Pentacles represent, are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Now, if you're familiar with astrology, you'll know that the zodiac, broken down into both elements, which we have already looked at, as well as modalities, cardinal signs, fixed signs, and basically the breakdown of the signs are shown as we read. And so you're always going to find that the wands, the cups, the swords, and the pentacles are part of your reading. Now, for those of you that want to know the cardinal signs of the zodiac, which they are the initiators, the self-starters, the assertive entrepreneurs, the decisive and aggressive people, they are represented by the queens of Aries, fire, beginning of spring, Cancer, which is of water and the beginning of summer, Libra, which is air and the beginning of fall, and Capricorn, which is of earth and the beginning of winter. So, fixed signs of the zodiac are the knights, represented by the signs that are in the middle of the season, the knights. And they are very focused and stable and reliable and concentrated and determined and sometimes very stubborn. And these signs would be of Taurus, which represents earth and spring, Leo, which is of fire and summer, Scorpio, which is of water and fall, and Aquarius, which represents air and winter. So why does this all help you in your reading? Oh, we need to get one more. The signs of the zodiac, the multiple signs, represented by the end of the season, and they are adaptable, flexible, good communicators, and sometimes rebellious. And these signs would be Gemini, which is of air and the end of spring, Virgo, which is earth, the end of summer, Sagittarius, which is of fire, the end of fall, and Pisces, which is water, end of winter. Now, which tarot cards represent your zodiac sign? And again, please remember that you can find all this information on the Achieve Radio blog. You don't have to memorize it from what I'm telling you. It's all written down for you on today's blog. The High Priestess is Virgo. The Empress is Libra. The Emperor is Scorpio. The Chariot is Sagittarius. The Hermit is Aquarius. And Justice represents Capricorn. So looking at all of these things in your reading only helps you in that if you are somebody that enjoys giving a lot of detail in your readings, you may find that you surprise many people with coming up with who they are, or the sign of somebody that that they know is relevant to their lifestyle. Now, I am going to, first of all, make sure that you understand that today's show is only to help you identify the zodiac signs. It is not to do astrology for you, of course. Astrology is its own unique and wonderful, and just once you've had a needle sign, to me, going to newspapers or magazines to be able to find one astrology sign, your birth sign, is not very accurate, because it's like taking an equation and just having one part of that equation. We are all complex and made up of several signs. So most of all, I want you to know that this is no replacement for being able to give you an astrology reading. And I hope that helps. Again, you can find all of this information on your today's Achieve Radio blog. And that's where that is. I would like to start today's show by looking at what it is that comes up as a reading to identify the energy and the the energy and the qualities of June. What can we expect in June? Not just for me, because if I were to do a reading, and please remember, I'm a little befuddled by those who do card of the day, because that would be their card of the day, because they are reading from and for themselves. But what I would like to do is just look at June and look at perhaps the spiritual energy of June, and also perhaps even politically what we can expect. So I am looking at June, and it says this is a month of getting balance back into life. Obviously, the seasons are starting to straighten out. Hopefully, the tornadoes are starting to simmer down. And it shows that politically there's been so much anxiety by everybody, the accusers, the people that are defending themselves. It says that whatever comes out of all of the political arena, June is going to be the time of more balance. And it's also going to be a time where a choice is going to have to be made. Now, I don't know what the two choices are, and if I look at that, what in the political arena would be the two choices that are given to the United States to have to concentrate on? Obviously, Republicans and Democrats, but if we look at that, it says this is the month where the pressure is on. This is the month where people are going out of their way to dogmatically hang on to their focuses and their issues, creating a huge amount of pressure on those that will not be transparent. And there is a sense that this is also a wonderful outcome for this nation, because it says it's going to be one in which the sun comes out. It's one in which finally people are going to communicate whether you define that as people communicating about the defenders of them of themselves, as we know at this time. Right now, there's a lot of heat on the presidency, but it says that it's all going to work out. I don't see impeachment, by the way. I feel that this is a month where people are going to have to communicate with each other. They're going to have to decide, now that the information is out, now the transparency is truly seen, can we now just kind of go back to the drawing board and get back to the real things that matter, like infrastructure and the real issues about the border? These are the things that really matter. And so I feel there is a wonderful outcome for June. More communication, more transparency, but with a good outcome. So, I'm going to just look over in the room here, and we have Chris, and we have Sarita and Sandy, and I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for coming through. And I'm going to start out with Sarita from Pennsylvania. Hi there, hon. How's it going today? Hello, Sarita? Oops. Okay, she's gone. Let's look at Sandy. Hey, Sandy, how are you today? Haven't heard from you in a long time.
Oh, hello. How are you? It's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to you.
I know it, and it's always so much fun. You're like having a special guest on, just having you here. What can I do for you today, and what is your comment on perhaps what we've been discussing today?
I kept having a real hard time getting through, so it just kept breaking up, and I was getting bits and pieces of what you were talking about.
I'm so sorry.
And
we've
had
to upload a new version of Skype, and unfortunately, it is kind of a trial and error today with our real video show. So I'm not sure if you can see me.
Oh, no, I'm on the phone, but it backs up what you were saying about things being difficult during June.
Yes, but with a good outcome. Pressure was on, it says, for transparency. But then in the long run, when information comes out, there is a sense that it gives us a chance to get back on to what really matters in this nation, which is infrastructure and, the border and whatever else. It gets us back to the real things that matter.
Yeah, what do you think of the united thinking? Like if everybody got on the same page and you've got this united thinking going on. I mean, and what do you think of individualized thinking as far as always being aware of where the emotions are at that time, and if they're low, if they're bad emotions, then the frequency is going to be low, and it attracts more, with the law of attraction, it attracts more of that to you. So,
yes.
Well, here you have June coming up, and things are supposed to be rather negative. But if you're aware of it and you keep yourself in that higher frequency, so when you have a low thought and that's bringing your frequency down, so start thinking of things that are happy, that make you feel good. How do I feel now? Oh, well, these thoughts are making me feel better. So
right.
How do you feel about that changing it completely so people could get through June and it really isn't a problem at all?
Being married to a Republican as a liberal, I don't really quite understand what the problem is, why people have such a hard time getting along. We live in this house in neutrality. We don't discuss what we know will cause fights, and I know that you can't do that when you're in the political arena. But on the other hand, I totally believe that, we're called the United States, for crying out loud. Why can't we walk our talk? Why can't we be united? I feel that right now the biggest problem is everybody's talking at and nobody's talking in a way that's listening. And I feel that we've all become so egocentric about our ideas being the one and only that you're right. Nobody is willing to just try to put it in the higher frequency of love, compassion, and understanding. And I'm not trying to do a kumbaya here. I'm just saying, is it really that hard? I mean, I don't know about you. When I was in school, we had to learn to get along, all of us together. That was part of going to public school. You learned how to get along with different kinds of people, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, absolutely, I do believe that manifesting through keeping your vibration high and refusing to allow yourself to get lost in opinionated Facebook pages and screaming at each other is the way to go, because it's never going to get us all back on track where we're united if we don't try to stop talking at each other or over each other's head as if we're all little tin gods. We have to start trying to understand that the only thing that I know for sure is that I don't know. And I think that somehow people get lost in their opinions and they stop listening. They become tin gods. And that's the way I look at it. How do you look at it?
Well, we spend 80% of our time trying to convince everyone else that we're right, and the 20% of the time we're trying to make ourselves think we're right. So, there's always that 20% of ourselves that is always doubting. Even as somebody who's a little bit more, say, overpowering or pushy with their opinions. But don't you? With that frequency, what they're doing is attracting more frequency. And when you have two people that are married together that are like that, you've got one person who's going to be a little bit more dominant or stronger in their emotional center. And so that one many times can be the one if they're in a foul mood or anything, they can actually put it out there, and the other one who's more sensitive could pick up on those frequencies. And as much as you try to not to, you actually start to begin to have feelings that are not keeping you in a higher level. And those feelings
I call it the Walmart mentality. If I go to Walmart and I'm in a great mood and I think that I'm looking pretty good that day and I'm feeling one with my inner self and my inner thoughts and are enjoying the beautiful day and then I walk in and I see the first thing I see is, as I open the door and smile at somebody, is somebody that is frowning and looking at me like, what do you want from me? I try to block that. I try not to let that get to me, but somewhere I pick up a little bit of that energy. And then I may find that my smile and my energy is a little bit dampened. And without even knowing it, I think all of us go to work. We may wake up in a great mood and turn on the television and all we see is crap. It's catchy. All that energy is very catchy. And
you're always being challenged with it, always.
Mm-hmm.
You're always being challenged with it. I mean, it's a challenge that will always be in the life. You're never going to get roses all the time. So it's the reaction that we're looking for. So you have to change that. That mental reaction has to change. It has to change from being able to pick that up to being able to stay above it. Well, how would we stay above it, having somebody frowning at you? It has to do with allowing them to be them. You know what I mean? And that's a little bit of control there. That's a little bit of saying, I want that person to smile. And you're not be able to control if that person's going to smile or not. But what you can control is your feelings of saying that person has a right to be who they want to be at this moment. And it's not my responsibility. Yeah, you have to say when something's happening, is this my responsibility? And you say yes or no. And if you say yes, well, how much of this is my responsibility? And then you put it to you, well, how much am I actually going to do? So, it all comes down to being aware at every moment on exactly where your emotions are at. So, in other words, just say it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon and you go, how am I emotionally feeling right now? And all of a sudden you think, oh, guess what? I'm not quite so happy. So you have to think. You do it purposely. You think of things that make you happy. You think of things you could do that make you happy. And anything that brings up those vibrations. And you say, how does it feel to think these thoughts? Oh, I'm starting to feel a little bit better, a little bit happier. So can you imagine going through June and some people are going to have a hard time. And some people are having quite a hard time right now. I know quite a few people who are having financial problems right now. But by going through it with, I guess you could say the law of attraction under your belt and the belief that if it's going to be real, if it's real to you. And so you keep that in mind, and then you keep your mind on, well, what's the best way to feel about this? There's a lot of people are very upset over Trump, very upset over him. But really, is it their responsibility? How much of it is their responsibility? How much do they want to take on? And then you have to say, well, how does these feelings of negativity, how does it feel in your body? Oh, it doesn't feel too good, does it? Well, that means hormones are being let out. That's how dis-ease turns into disease in the body. It's psychosomatic. It starts in the brain, but it truly is absolutely real. So that's how you end up developing all this disease or, I don't know, fibromyalgia is a big one for it. Nobody knows what fibromyalgia is, but it's actually all these old emotions that are buried inside your subconscious mind, and starts to bubble up to the top. Something triggers the emotion, and your brain says, oh, wait, that is a toxic emotion, and they zap you with some kind of pain, usually the weakest spot in the body. And so you're, oh, gosh, I've got pain all over my body. Well, think about it, what happened at the point when that pain was starting. Usually something happened that triggered the emotion. Well, how do you find out? By being aware of how you're feeling, by asking yourself, how am I feeling emotionally right now? You don't have to explain it or feel it. You just identify it. And then you can bring your up. So can you imagine if we all could do that, if we can all be aware of that? Boy, we would fly through next month.
Yeah, it would be a great thing, but, the main thing is that everyone is so reactive, and it would be beautiful if we could all get into the mode of thinking of trying to define that our moods and say, gosh, why did that person at Walmart that went through the door not smile at me? Or why did that person at work when I said good morning ignore me? Or whatever, it would be great to say, I'm going to stay neutral and I'm going to think good thoughts. And I think that's a wonderful thing. But it takes a little discipline to do that. And I think that everyone needs that discipline.
You have to remember when you're being hit like that, what's really being hit is you're saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for this person to smile at me. I'm not good enough for that. So it's the fear of not being good enough. When you can own just what a beautiful spirit you are, you're an energy being, and everyone else. Listen to this. When the story of Lazarus, Jesus goes after the guy was dead 4 days, and he says, Lazarus, arise. And Lazarus walks out, and he's alive now. Well, I looked up in these archives. They kept really good. They did a lot of writing, and I looked it up. Turns out that this guy lived 30 years more after Jesus' death. The first thing, of course, they wanted to do was kill him and Jesus. The thing about him that caught me was they wrote down, now he was made bishop of the church by Paul, the Apostle Paul, so he lived 30 years more. The whole thing that got me about Lazarus was that he never smiled. After they woke him up, it was written in more than one account that the man never smiled. And the only time he would smirk is if he saw somebody stealing something, if that was in a clay pot or anything. And he would smirk and say, look, clay stealing clay. And that was the statement more than once that I read. Isn't that amazing? So this man was dead for 4 days. He comes back. And he doesn't seem to be all happy. He's not whistling, oh, I can't wait to get back there again.
Right.
That's a kind of an uneasy feeling.
Well, you'd have to be, it'd be a little like being woken out of a sound sleep, or a place where of total peace, and then having to come back to turmoil. So I'm not sure that it would be a wonderful thing.
But, the point of the story would be that here he was, never smiling, clay,
yes,
stealing clay.
Right.
That's right there is telling you we are equal. It doesn't matter if you're Donald Trump or if you're, somebody from some little town. It actually doesn't matter. You are still the spiritual, beautiful spiritual being walking on this planet, and the universe is still very much interested in bringing you what you're going to attract. So, yeah, I think I'm really into the idea of that, of thinking that I know it's too grand to think that everyone could start doing it. But if anybody's listening and they say, it does sound kind of interesting, they should look up tapping. Tapping is very interesting. You can get it on YouTube, and you can tap over anything. If you have a lot of anxiety, if you have anything that bothers you, you can look it up on YouTube, and they have tapping. And what you're doing is you're tapping on different meridian points, little
right.
Energy points, and you're repeating what they're saying. But I'm telling you, it works. It's phenomenal. And the other thing that I thought that you would find very interesting was Abraham Hicks, Hisk.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. If anybody wants to really, hear about what beautiful energy beings we are, the power we actually do have, they should listen to that. It makes you realize that who's going to have control over next month being hard? Is it going to be because anybody who really isn't listening to your show aren't going to be aware that they've got the absolute, they have the ability to change and to attract what they want to them by being aware of their emotional, and we all have emotional pain bodies, and where we are at any moment of the day. And then if you feel that you're not in a high frequency, which would be a good mood, happiness, then you think of things.
Or neutrality. Neutrality sometimes is a very good mood too.
It could all be quite a wonderful thing.
I think that. I think what you're telling me is very wise, and I love all these subjects that I know I've studied them for years, and I feel that you have really gotten yourself into a positive state of mind yourself from what I've learned. You must have been doing a lot of studying the last year or two, because I feel that you're talking about things that I have not heard you talk about before.
I told you how much you have helped, you and Joseph. You've opened up, you gave me confidence, opening up myself. Plus, I've gotten involved with
you did your own work too, though.
And I mean, it all fell into place, but it took away the fear of being able to step out there and do it. When you're told, somebody tells you, you're on the right path. Don't worry about it. You're going in the right path. Oh, man, that's golden, And I would just hang on to those. When I met you, I was not in a very good place. And so, yeah, kind of like I've kind of opened up what I've been thinking and expanding it all. Plus, I take the RNA drops. Remember the night you said you got to get back on the RNA drops one time you said to me? Well, I called up there, Carol and Dean. I got back on the RNA drops, and I have to say maybe they are expanding my mind. They're wonderful.
Well, those are, listening to that show and the doctor and all those things is very mind expanding as well. I know that Bill also uses the RNA drops and swears by them. So you guys that use it, I know that they seem to be really, really working. And I would advise anybody that is having problems with their body or to listen to the shows that the RNA drops is. What is the name of that show again?
Yeah, it's Carolyn Dean on
Carolyn
Achieve
Dean
Radio.
Yes, Carolyn Dean show is she's they have wonderful things to talk about, and you can call in and be able to give your health symptoms and be able to and they will help you define what's going on and whether magnesium or all those things are going to help you, or discuss what you may be deficient of, and I would say that definitely it seems to be a huge benefit to many people.
Well, honestly, when I listened to that Abraham Hicks, and I know you said you know what I was talking about. They're channeling. It seems that it's a channeling thing that they're doing. So would they be the masters? Is that what they're channeling? Is that so? There's masters and they're channeling the masters. Where is?
Yeah, that's the what do they call that? The archives, I'm missing the word. As if that there are records of all lives and all past lives and all wisdom, and that a lot of them channel that kind of information, right?
Well, you have this sixth sense about being able to read the cards for people, and you have a feeling for them. And a feeling for the people that
yes, Akashic records. Thank you, Sandy.
Yes. Do you feel that around you? Do you feel that some of your information, you can almost say power, blessings? Do you feel that your blessings are? Do you feel that around you, that they're the other dimension, that there's guardian angels, they're channeling another dimension that's right in front of us?
I know that many people define what they feel the energy is for them. And I would define that the energy that I read with is from a source that is positive. But I know that also, though I believe it is of higher frequency that I read with, I also would have to say the only thing I know for sure is that I don't know, Sandy. I believe that my brain is so tiny, it's a human, that for me to define the universal wisdom of forever endeavor is part of an ego thing. And I would have to say that I feel that in my place where I read, it is my job not to assume that I feel I am of a higher frequency. I feel I read with a higher frequency, but I also feel it's important not to make proclamations that I know all, be all, and which I feel is of ego and of a wisdom that is artificial. Please understand that I know that you feel differently, but what I'm saying is, I know that I see the best of what, and I tune into a higher frequency. I don't think about what comes through. I just open my mouth, and whatever comes through, comes through. But I cannot define that it is of a specific source or that it is of, what I am saying is that it's been with me all my life. And it's like, why are you right-handed and why are you left-handed? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's almost as though it just, you're tuning in, and it's like tuning into the radio. And you're getting
right.
You're
I'm just tuning in, and I don't care to name what it is, and I don't care as long as I would certainly never read about negative things that I felt were harmful to people or going to create them to see fearful things. I'm not tuned into that at all. But I just feel that after doing a lifetime of this, I have gotten to where it's just begun to be like tying my shoes, and I don't ask myself why. I just tie my shoes.
Now, see, that's the big thing is not to doubt yourself, because once you doubt yourself even a little bit, then you're opening the door to the other side.
But I don't doubt myself. I'm not doubting myself.
Oh, I'm just saying you can't. I mean, you're in a position where you can't afford to even doubt yourself. You're giving out information, that sort of thing. And like you said, you're not sure where it comes from, and that's interesting, isn't it? I was, I don't have to bring up the Bible again, but Jesus always is saying in it that I don't speak my words, I speak the words of my Father. So these are popping into his head, and they're just coming out. It's very interesting to think of the source of the thought, isn't it? I mean, now you're getting into almost quantum. Here you're thinking of the source of the thought. That's
yeah. I feel that when I started tuning into spirit, I know one thing. I have been gifted all my life, but when I chose to make it my living, I then faced many dreams which wanted to drag me to one side or the other. If I felt, and I always call that walking the desert, like Jesus, not to put me on the equal footing of Jesus, but to say that anyone that chooses to go into channeling or going into the dynamic of working with spirit, there is a good and there is a bad. And you have to go through that path of which side you're going to work with. I talk to people that say that they go to readers and they just feel terrible because it's as if all they've had is fear put into them. And then there are the people that are opposite. But all I know is that you cannot work with spirit without finding that at some point you're going to have to choose which side you want to be on. Fear and negativity, or are you going to read with positive, higher frequencies of love and compassion? And at that point, when you have found that your dreams are testing you, you are crossing the wilderness, and you will be chosen, and you will have to decide. Now, some people say that that's ridiculous, and I don't think so. I think that no matter, you can live your life and completely void of having to worry about any of that crap. You just live your life day to day. Or you can decide that if you're into what I do, what you feel that you do, and you're philosophical and knowledgeable and wisdom gift, I feel that you have chosen to see what you want to see also, which is to see the side that lifts you in to the higher frequency. So you've already made that choice. of what side you're
That
on.
was a big help from you, and that choice I made to do that happened the time when I was talking to you, and I was talking, you were both on, and
Right.
I don't know which one which said it,
But
but you
but I
said,
think I think
I see you choosing everything good was said. That's right. I see you choosing. I see you choosing everything good and looking at the good. No matter what happens, you're going to find the good in it. That's what the statement was. And that's when I actually started, when things were starting to see the good, look for the good. And then I started getting into tapping, and I found the other thing, and, everything snowballs.
yes.
But,
And so
yeah,
all I'm
that was you
saying,
and
yeah.
Joseph.
So
Joseph put me on that path.
yes. So I feel that Joseph will tell you that he just reads cards, and that he is channeling, but he is channeling through the cards, and he gets kind of he's more of a cynic about when I say I read with angels. But the thing is, I think that's just another way to say that I choose to read with higher frequencies. I choose to read with the angel in the angel dimension. And what are angels? Angels are beings of higher frequency. I don't have any idea if they have a body or if they have anything like that. And I certainly, when people say, "Can you name my angel?" I would say, "How can I name your angel when I call my angel us, we, and you know." I don't name my angels because I believe that angels change guard in different stages of our life. We certainly don't need the same angels that we had when we were teenagers in our older years. We are at a different dynamic in our life and a different wisdom. So, it's all changing and it's all good, but I would have to say I am of less is more. I am of simplicity. I believe that less is more, and that I believe that as soon as I feel that I know the answers, something slaps me in the face and says, "Well, how about that? Did you know that?" So I'm reluctant to say, "This is the way," or "This is the way," or "This is the way," because there's always something that changes the way that I felt the universe was. And the way death is, or the way the afterlife is, it always changes, and something always says, "Well, did you consider this?" So I'm envious of people who think they know all the answers and stand by them, but I believe that for me, less is more. I read in the angel dimension, and I try not to, and I did this in catechism, and why I flunked it in my Lutheran years when I was a kid, because I just have a hard time accepting rules of, rules are made to be broken. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, I
Sandy,
think
I'm
what it
I'm
is.
I'm honoring everything that you are saying today, and I am honoring the wisdom and contribution you have made in this show today. But for me, I read simply. I read with less is more. I read in the being of just being with the higher frequency of what I see. I open my mouth and I let come out what I feel. And my sense is that I don't know where that's coming from or if there's a name for what it's coming from. But I do know that wise souls like you give me a good kick in the ass and help me to get back on track when I get too simple.
When you get too simple. I think that that everything about the show is an absolute delight and very informative. And I know that there's some other people that want to talk, and so I think we will have to give you some time with them. And as always, it was just a pleasure speaking with you. You come
Thank
across
you,
as
Sandy.
somebody who's into unconditional love, And I think that's what you rebelled against in your religion, was because all religions are conditional love. You have to believe
All
as we
religions
believe.
are the same. All religions are honoring the same thing, but it's the rules that get them all crapped up.
So no, that's why I said it's conditional love. So in other words, if you want to follow
absolutely
all our rules, we love you and you're part of my group.
That's it, Sandy. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
When we start making rules, when we start saying, this is the way it is, we are already being no different than a segregated religion.
And you are a person of unconditional love, so that train of thought is too confining for you. You can't follow those rules.
It is for me, yes.
So I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Okay, I'm going to answer for Russ before the show ends. Sandy, blessings, blessings, blessings. Thank you so much. You're always a delight when you come on to the show.
Okay, you just keep yourself in those high frequencies, and anyone else that's listening, remember, all through the day, you just say to yourself, well, how am I emotionally feeling at this time? And if it turns out that you're feeling, a little down or a little depressed, you have to take the intention to think better thoughts to bring your frequencies back up, and then ask yourself, well, how does it feel to think these good thoughts? And you'll realize that you're feeling better, because you don't need the bad hormones and you don't need the dis-ease in the body.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Okay, have a good one.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Russ from Ohio says, what do you pick up for me the next few months? And Russ, when I look at what comes up for you in your reading before the show ends, I think we have 1 minute and 30 seconds. It says the following. Russ, are you finding yourself getting a little bit worked up about kind of what Sandy said? Are you finding yourself getting down? Because what comes through is that you've made up your mind to go back to something that was what you used to do or who you used to work for or be with in the past. But your reading says think twice about that. My feeling is that you are going into a new path for yourself, and if you could decide to go backwards in the next 4 months, you may regret it. So I'm going to say keep yourself tuned in to your adventure ahead of you. I feel try new things, get out of your comfort zone, and try not to go backwards into something that was comfortable in the past, but may not be so comfortable in the future. I feel your next 4 months is one of wisdom, where you're going to find that you really look at the world in a new way. All right. Thanks so much, and I appreciate anybody that's listening to the show afterwards, and we'll see you later.
The oldest and most trusted station of its kind in the world. This is AchieveRadio.com. Empower yourself.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie. Welcome to Achieve Holistic, Spiritual, and Self-Improvement Psychic Radio. Here's a tip. Pull back your shoulders, lift up your rib cage, and tuck in your butt. Aligning your chakras will help you